This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening, Rabbi Sai. We're continuing with Masechta Nedarim. We're learning Daf Amud Aleph. Daf Amud Aleph. It's a very short Amud. And we're moving on from the previous Mishnah. And we're going on to a new topic. We know that, in generally, making commitments is something that potentially could be frowned upon because you may not be able to keep to your commitments. So you might be better off doing what you need to do without formally committing to it beforehand. In Koheles it says, Eis asher tidar tishalem, whatever you vow you should pay. But toiv asher loy sidar, better not to vow, misha tidar v'loy tishalem, than to vow and not pay. So in general, making vows are associated with the wicked. Not making vows are associated with the righteous. So we're going to now discuss somebody who phrased their neder in association with either the wicked or the righteous. Kinidrei Rishaim. Somebody said that they're going to make a vow like the wicked. Then the vow is effective. It could be neder, it could be a vow. Nazir, it could be a nazir acceptance. Uvekarban, it could be an obligation to bring a carbon. Uveshvua, or it could be an obligation to swear. Because the wicked vow. So when you say kinidrei rishaim, you're in fact saying, I want to make a vow like the wicked. Well, the wicked do vow. So if the wicked vow, then what you're saying has validity. But if you say kinidrei kasherim, like the vows of the kosher, loy amar klum, then what you're saying is meaningless because kosher people don't make vows. But if you say kinidvoisam, like their nedavos, then nadar, then it could be an effective neder, or benazir, or naziros, uvekarban. Because even though kasherim don't make nedarim, they do make nedavos. And the difference is, a neder, you say harei olai, and therefore the acceptance is upon you yourself, and if you don't end up doing it, then you have personal liability. However, a nedava, you are not the one responsible. The item that you said is going to be brought has to be brought, and if something happens to you, you do not have a liability. So it's interesting, the Mishnah does not say that if you say ki nidavos kasherim, it could be a shvua. A shvua it can't be, because a kosher person will never make an oath. Let's see the Ran. The Ran says, kinidrei rishaim nadar benazir bekarban uveshua hachmasni senami perusha diyadaisi. This Mishnah is a continuation of explaining the concept of yadais. Umefarshina beGemara, the Gemara explains that this is what it means to say. Di'im amar, if a person says kinidrei rishaim, like the vows of the wicked, harini, meaning you add the word harini, you don't just say kinidrei risham, but you say kinidrei risham harini, and not only did you say like the vows of the wicked, I am, but v'haya nazar over lefanav, there was a nazar passing in front of you, harehu nazar. Then you're a nazar. V'chinim amar kinidrei risham alai, like the vows of the wicked upon me. Then chayiv carbon. Then you would have to bring a carbon. And the Ran says, even though the Gemara doesn't say this, it's mistaber, they'd only be chayiv a carbon if there is a animal walking before you. Umistavra nami, it's logical, dadavka kashoisa behimo menachas fanav, if there's an animal before you. V'chein nami, likewise, im amar kinidrei rishaim hemeno, if you say like the vows of the wicked, from it, shaloi oichal, that I will not eat it. Again, the Gemara explains that when the Mishnah says kinidrei rishayim, it's also with an added phrase, namely of harini, or alai, or heimenu. So if you say kinidrei rishayim heimenu shaloi oichal, v'haya kikar munach lefanav, if there was a loaf in front of you, harehi b'shvua. You are bound by an oath not to eat it. Umechayev b'chol hani, and you're chayev in all of these, ki amar kinidrei rishayim. Why? Shaharei ha-risham darkan lidar. The risham make a lot of nedarim. Oh boy, can I tell you of a lot of nedarim that I've seen over the years that never came to fruition. People have come to me they've shook my hand, they've given me their word, and I know, watch out, it would be a miracle if this ever happens. And sure enough, it never happened. Why? Because Rishayim like to make Nedarim, but nothing comes of it. Tzaddikim do not make Nedarim. Shaharei Risham darkan lidar b'chol elu umevnei she'ein roi lasos kein, because it is not fit to do this. Kari lehu nidrei Rishayim. Shaharei Rishayim heim la'isei davar. They are wicked for that matter. Kein nira be'einai. But if you say kinidrei kasherim, afagav da amar hareini or ha'alai or heimenu, even if you say kinidrei kasherim and you say hareini or alai and heimenu, and there was a nazar passing in front of you, or an animal, or a kikar, nazar behema kikar lefanav, lo yamar klum, because the expression kinidrei kasherim is meaningless, because kosher people don't make nedarim. Sharei enak kasherim noidrim, kasherim do not make nedarim. She'ein rasham lasos kain, she'ein rasham lasos kain. You are not permitted to do this. Vuadin nami im amar kinidavas rasham alai. The same thing would be if you say, like the nedavais of Risham on me. Let's say you say, like, I'm going to make a nedava like a Rasha. That's also meaningless, because Risham don't make nedavais, they make nedarim. La yamar klum lefi she'in Risham noidvim. Shemheim noidvim, because if they do, they would not be a Rasha for that thing. Meaning, even though you could technically say, kinidrei Rishaim, Rishaim make nedarim. Rishaim do not make nedavais. Now, even though it could be a Rasha will make a nedava, but regarding that behavior, that is not a wicked behavior. So that would be ineffective if you say the kinedavais of a Rishaim. But kinidvaisam, if you say like the nedavais of a kashar, then it could be a neder, it could be a naziros, it could be a karban. Sharei haksherim misnadvim him. Kasherim make nedavais, whether it's a karban or a naziros, hilkach ki amar hareini. Therefore, if you say kinidvais kasherim hareini, v'haya nazir ayvelafanav, there's a nazir walking before you, harehi nazir. You're a nazir. V'chi amar alai, if you say kinidvais kasherim alai, and there was an animal in front of you, behema menachas in front of, havalei ka'omer, it's like you said, harehu karban nedava. But there is no concept of shavua of a kosher person. Aval b'shvua loy mechayev. A shvua you would not be chayev. Afilu haya kikar mulach lefanav, even if there's a loaf placed in front of you. V'amar heimenu shaloi oichal, and you say from it I'm not going to eat, because kasherim never make a vow. The Ran goes on to ask that the difference between a nadava and a neder is a nadava is harei zu, and a neder is harei alai. And harei alai, you have personal liability, and a nadava, harei zu, you don't have personal liability, because if that animal, something happens to it, you are not responsible. So the Ran asks, that distinction of the difference between alai and zu is only plausible by karbanos, but it's not plausible by naziros. What would be a nadava of naziros and what would be a neder of naziros? The two categories are not applicable. Therefore, the Ran redefines the difference between neder and nedava. A neder is something done unenthused. I take upon myself to do it. Yeah, shkoyach. When? It's like these guys say, I pledge. Shkoyach, you pledge. You also pledge allegiance to the flag in 3rd grade. When are we going to see something from it? Who knows? So a neder is unenthused. Nedava is, I'm giving this. That's more of an enthused. So Rishaim donate unenthused. Kasherim donate enthused. Now, by Naziros also, if you do it with the right kavanos, that is a nedava. If you do it with improper kavanos, that is a neder. Okay, so the Gemara asks, Why is the phrase Kinidrei Rishayim effective? V'dilma hachi kamar. Maybe this is what the guy meant. If a guy just says the words Kinidrei Rishayim, maybe he means Kinidrei Rishayim loy nadarna. I will not make a neder like the wicked. I will not make a neder. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said ba'omer, where he says Kinidrei Rishayim, he adds a word to the phrase Kinidrei Rishayim. Either he adds the word Hareini, I will be, and in that case we interpret it as a nazir, or alai, and in that case we interpret it as a carbon, or vehemenu, from it, and then we interpret it as a shvua. Harini benazirus. If he says harini, we interpret it as nazirus. Alai, if he says alai, becarbon. Hemenu b'shvua. Says the Gemara, harini benazirus. Harini is interpreted as nazirus. Dilma harini b'tainis. Maybe he meant, behold, I will be in a state of fasting. Amar Shmuel kishaya nazar oivel lefanav. If there is a nazar passing in front of you. Likewise, the Ran said by Karban, if you say alai, it has to be there was an animal in front of you. Heimenu, from it, kinidrei risham heimenu, bishvua. That means you take an oath, you're not going to eat it. Says the Gemara, but dilma heimenu da'achilna, maybe it means you're taking an oath that you will eat it. Kamar. Amar Rava said, the Amar heimenu shaloy aichal, from it that I won't eat. So if you said, from it you won't eat, yachi ma'ila memra. Of course it's effective. If you say, Kinidrei Risham, Himeno, Dola Yachal, of course it's effective. So Gemara says, maybe not. Maybe for a Shvua to be Chal, you need to articulate an oath. And he never did so. Says Gemara, he did not emit an oath from his mouth. Kamash Malan, so the Chiddush is that in fact, it is effective. Kamash Malan Hadin, that this din is true, that it is effective. Now, our Mishnah differentiates between neder and nedava. A neder, the wicked people do. Nedava, only righteous people do. But as we're going to see, it doesn't seem like any Tanoim differentiate between neder and nedava. Says the Gemara, man kinidrei ksherim loy amar klum. Like the Nedarim of ksherim, you didn't say anything. Kinidvaisam, like their nedavais, nadar benazir. Man tana the shani ben neder and nedava. Which tana differentiates between neder and nedava? Lema, we should say, loy Rabbi Meir. It's not Rabbi Meir, but loy Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya we learned in a brisa. We learned in a brisa, toiv asher loy tidar. The pasuk says in Koheles like this: Eis asher tidar teshalem, that which you vow, pay. Toiv asher loy sidar, misha tidar v'loy teshalem. So there's a shaila like this. It says if you make a neder, you should pay it. But better you don't make a neder than make a neder and don't pay. Is it better not to make a neder than making a neder and paying? Meaning there are three cases. Making a neder and paying, making a neder, not making a neder at all, and making a neder and not paying. We know the worst is making a neder and not paying. What's the best? Making a neder and paying, or not making a neder at all? Rabbi Meir holds, Toiv asher loy sidar mishatidar v'loy teshalim, Toiv mizeh u'mizeh she'en neder kolekar. The best thing is not to make a neder at all. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Toiv mizeh u'mizeh neder mishalim. The best thing is to make a neder and to pay. Making a neder and not paying is only worse than making a neder. Not making a neder at all is only better than making a neder and not paying. But the best is making a neder and paying. But everyone agrees that there's no difference between neder and nedava. We don't see any difference here between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, between neder and nedava. Let's see the Ran. The Ran, just back in the last sugya, it's the second wide line. V'dilma himeno da'achil nakamar. Maybe you mean when you say kinidrei rishaim heimenu, maybe it means you will eat it. Kolaymar v'kivan de'ikol meimar dilma da'achilna kamar. I'm sorry, I'm going back to the last Gemara, but the Gemara's question, the Ran explains that since there's a possibility that when you said heimenu, you didn't mean you're not going to eat, but rather you meant you're going to eat. So then it's a yadayim she'eno meichichais, and Shmuel, who is the Baal HaMemra over here happens to hold Yadayim Shen Mechicha Zoi Havin Yadayim, Nesfir Leil Shmo Doi Havin Yadayim. So Gemara wants to know who is the Baal HaMemra that differentiates between Neder and Nedava. Says the Ran, the Amar the Kshera Misnadvim Ve'inam Noidrim. Who is the Tana of Mishnah that says kosher people make Nedavos and don't make Nedarim? Toiv Mizeh u'Mizeh she'enoi Noider kol ikar. It's the best thing is not to make a neder at all. That's better than minoider mashalim. It's even better than making someone who makes a neder and pays. Minoider mashalim, someone who makes a neder and doesn't pay. The el mehai kra earlier on ksiv esar shartidar shalim. It says that which you make a neder pay. Ubasar hachi ksiv and afterwards it says toiv asher loy sidar, better not to make a neder. It's even better it's better not to make a neder than someone who makes a neder and pays. Toiv minoider umeshalim dechsiv le'el minay. So Rabbi Meir's shita is it's even better not to make a neder at all than to make a neder and pay. Again, we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. Actually, maybe not. It seems like we paskin like Rabbi Meir over here, which is interesting. As you know, we usually don't paskin like Rabbi Meir, but it sounds like over here we paskin like Rabbi Meir not to make a neder at all. Because Yav Taima Lamilsa, the pasuk is giving a reason mishatidar v'loy tishalim. Then making a neder and not paying kolomer shema tishkach. You might forget v'loy tishalim lefikach toiv asher loy sidar kol. Better not to make a neder at all. Mashmalan hashta. Now it's mashma deloy shani. That there's no differentiation between neder and nedava. The iloi, because if there was a difference, lashmeina and kra, if there was a difference between neder and nedava, it should say, and even better than not making a neder at all is making a nedava. Lashmeina and kra, the toiv mikula noi devu masham. The best thing is making a nedava and paying. Rabbi Yehuda Omer toiv mizah noider mashalim v'dala. And how does Rabbi Yehuda read the pasuk? V'dar shlei l'kroi. Rabbi Yehuda reads the pasuk hachi. Esa shartidar shalim. If you make a neder, pay. V'zuhi midah meshubachas. That is the best midah. Avol toiv asher loy tida. But it's better not to make a neder than to make a neder and not to pay. Elamai the Ran says that's pashut. Obviously, meaning according to Rabbi Meir, I understand why the Torah says it's better not to make a neder at all. It's better not to make a neder at all than to make a neder and pay it. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, no, it's better to make a neder and pay it. It's only better not to make a neder at all than to make a neder and not to pay it. No kidding. It's better not to make the neder at all than to make the neder and not pay it. So you might think like this, that at least the guy who made the neder and didn't pay, okay, we're going to nail him for not paying it, but he did something good by making the neder because that would inspire him to pay and to give it. The chidush is there is no redeeming value of making a neder. Only the giving has value, not the making the neder. Okay, so that is Daf Testament Aleph. But it only took us 20 minutes, so the vote is unanimous. We're going to do Amud Beis because the rest of the week, I don't think... I'm not going to be able to do it until Thursday. And who could wait? Who knows? Maybe, is that okay?
Recording stop.
Yeah? I hear you.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.